Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the Committee Reads. I'm your host, Kaiju X, and with me today, I have Ditto and Nagoda. And today, we will be doing Match 184, Zone Fighter vs. Legion, by Tyler Treeshock. Did you hear something? A Japanese guard asked to his patrol mate as he looked down a long, dimly lit corridor with an endless amount of doors. The partner sighed. The third and final time, Kazuma. No! Are you sure, Hiroshi? Because I thought I heard the sound of metal cracking? Patrol officer inquired again. My mouth was being stupid. The other guards had been really quiet as well. Yeah, that first sentence there was a little like, are you sure, Hiroshi? It's treated as like one long sentence. I feel like there should have been a little more going on there, but
kind of.
Look, Kazuya, we are hundreds of feet under the city of Osaka, Hiroshi explained. The entire place has a steel wall so thick that a nuke could drop on us and we would not have to worry. So how would something get all the way down here, create noise, and not alert the other 18 guards? Kazuya raised his hand in defeat. I don't know, but there have been a lot of weird events this week. First the meteor in the countryside, then the weird mineral robberies. Maybe all this could be connected. Hiroshi shook his head and wiped his hand over his face as he processed the information before he exclaimed, I am just going to pretend I didn't hear you just say that. I mean, first off, what does any of that have to deal with this job? Second, is this from the same newspaper that spotted the flying blue man in Tokyo a few days ago? Kazuya scolded his partner before he ran off to investigate the sound down another hallway. Clear deliverance of clear information exposition. Hiroshi watched his companion disappear, pitying his slow to develop common sense and waited for him to return. As he grew impatient, the officer began to stroll down the hallway until Kazuya reappeared, but in a full sprint. Now what's your problem? Hiroshi humorously questioned, only then for a massive wave of black, one-eyed, human-sized insects to advance from the hallway his partner had just come from. I was right! Kazuya yelled as he bolted past his partner, who pulled out his sidearm. Hiroshi unleashed his weapon on the bugs, but it did nothing to stop their movement, forcing the elderly patrol officer to follow Kazuya. Death flowed a dozen meters behind them, following the pair with every turn they made. The two men, however, halted as they reached an unwanted dead end. We're trapped. Gray shot. You're missing something there. We're trapped.
My entrance? Yes. Hello. Sorry for being late.
Oh, no, you're all right. We were kind of waiting around for a while. We actually just started-ish. We're trapped.
Got it.
But yeah, no, we're just gonna be passing along, so it's gonna go. Yeah, no, it'll go kind of like Nagoda, Ditto, then you, and then we'll just kind of pass along at our leisure. We're trapped. We're trapped. Kazuya exclaimed, only for Hiroshi to notice a door beside them. We have Hiroshi remarked, only to notice the wave of insects approaching them and quickly refocus on the lock. The guard rapidly entered their security code and opened the door, allowing the duo to dash into the room. As Hiroshi locked the metal door behind them, a loud series of thuds immediately began sounding as the creatures pounded the door. That should hold them, Kazuya assured as he panted from his long run, only to watch as the insects thrusted their long legs to the door and the wall surrounding it. No, it won't, Hiroshi regrettably commented as he watched the barrier start to crumble. Two officers turned around to look for a way out, only to discover that they were not alone. A figure slowly turned to face as two patrol officers faced the two patrol officers as he realized their presence. A gray and blue skin enveloped his form. A star-like crest rested just above his eyes. The only insight to the man behind the alien armor. The strange wardrobe distracted the pair for a few moments until they glanced at the sparkling crystal in the intruder's hands. Who the hell are you? Hiroshi inquired as he drew his sidearm on the unknown individual. If you want to make it out here, then follow me. The figure spun and punched through the left metal wall. Hiroshi stood in shock, lowering his weapon as the intruder gradually peeled the steel wall apart like tin paper until a large enough opening appeared. The figure after the act exhaustingly panting before he jumped into the next room. That feels a little clumsy to read, I feel. It's like it's still there. Like you get the idea that it's like he jumped up, but still. Hiroshi and Kazuya followed his lead as the door gave way. The insects flooded the room, but the mysterious figure bent the metal back in the nick of time. Kazuya watched the insect struggle against the broken wall before turning towards his savior. Thank you, but who are you? Zone Fighter, the hero commented as he searched the room to discover multiple lockers filled with weapons. Hiroshi smirked as he lifted a rifle from the cache and looked it over. We must be in the storage room for the old mutant weapons. Damn, things are out of date. But that's still pack a punch. Zone Fighter grabbed a weapon for himself, simply for Hiroshi to aim his weapon at the alien hero. Kazuya immediately moved in front of his partner's aim and declared, "Are you mad? He just saved our lives. Don't you know who he is? It's Zone Fighter. He is an old superhero of Japan like Ultraman. Don't you remember? How the hell do you... Eh?
How the hell do you? Like, it's a question?
Yeah. How the hell do you? I was a kid when they were around. You weren't even born. My dad read stories about them to me when I was a kid," Kazuya embarrassingly retorted. "He's a lot smaller than I remember, though." "Okay, then. If he is who he says he is, why did he steal the crystal? I sure don't know what the hell it is, but for all we know, it's why those things want us dead." The sound of the insects pounding their legs against the dividing wall reinforced Hiroshi as he kept his aim on the thief. Zone Fighter exhaled, appearing as if he was fighting off a migraine, and explained, "No, I need the crystal to help someone." "See, he's on our side. Are you also here to stop the symbiotic legion?" "A what?" Hiroshi inquired. "The things outside which reminds me," Kazuya noted as he dropped his radio as well as his cell phone on the ground. "Don't you read anything, Hiroshi?" Veins appeared in Hiroshi's head, but his irritation did little to stop his reasoning as he lowered his weapon. "Okay, so what's the plan, hero?" Hiroshi inquired while he looked at the bent wall, which had the insect's legs creaking through. The thought of the creatures then reminded him to follow Kazuya's action and drop his radio. Zone Fighter handed a rifle to Kazuya before he walked to the exit. "How fast can you run?" The alien hero kicked the door open and unleashed his weapon on the legion that were outside the broken door as Hiroshi and Kazuya ran the other direction. The officers unleashed their respective rounds on any bug they noticed in front of them, shredding them with ammo that was designed to pierce giant monsters' flesh. Hiroshi accurately fired while Kazuya sprayed and prayed until the pair reached the door. Hiroshi quickly pressed the elevator button, simply for nothing to happen. "I think the lockdown activated. The door's locked," Kazuya remarked as he stared at the elevator door while Hiroshi kept watch down the hall. "Shoot some bugs, then!" Kazuya ready to retort. However, the sound of footsteps drew both guards' attention. Both aimed their weapons down the hallway. They had come from merely to find Zone Fighter jogging toward them. A smile appeared on Kazuya's face, but it faded as dozens of symbiotic legions appeared behind him, approaching his ally. Pass.
Okay. Hiroshi let out a sigh and raised his rifle. Damn it, not again. Hiroshi unleashed a constant stream of laser fire, allowing Hikaru to safely reach their position. The screeches of the symbiotic legion behind him created an almost deafening sound as they were slaughtered, but the creatures continued to press toward the trio. "Where is the elevator?" Hikaru inquired. Kazuya glanced at the door. "Either here or halfway to the Atlantic." "It better be here soon," Hiroshi shouted as he picked off the advancing creatures with more semi-automatic laser fire. "These things are damn persistent." "Well, Hiroshi, you want us to shoot the door open then? Risk us getting..." Hikaru pushed Kazuya out of the way, grabbing the two panels of the door and pulled. The metal doors creaked, the frame bending from the alien's strength. Gradually, a large enough opening appeared, revealing the elevator before Hikaru stumbled back. The hero took multiple deep breaths and almost fell to the floor, merely for Kazuya to assist him. As the two entered the elevator with Hiroshi covering them, a sad revelation overcame Hikaru. His incredible strength, like his self-control, had faded in thanks to Cameron. The elevator began to rise, and Hikaru continued to delve into his current misery until Hiroshi interrupted his train of thought. So, how did you get in here, anyway? Hikaru smiled as a more comical thought entered his fracturing mind. The television set in your employee lounge. Hiroshi stared at Hikaru, waiting for the sarcastic remark to follow, which never did. Well, how about the doors? No, let me guess. The employee microwave? Actually, the toaster for the doors, the codes on the whiteboard also helped. Hiroshi let out another irritated sigh. Another reason I hate the people I work with. The damaged doors opened, and the trio rushed out, merely to discover an eerily empty Japanese Self-Defense Force lobby. With no one in sight, the trio rushed out onto the streets, merely to discover a large, orange plant-like structure growing out of the adjacent building, and people running in all directions. I think I want to go back in the bunker, Kazuya moaned as he scanned the plant in horror. You said it could survive a nuke, right, Hiroshi? Hikaru turned to Kazuya. Why? What's going to happen? Kazuya opened his mouth to reply, merely for Hiroshi to step in between the two. Since Gamera's dead, that plant's going to turn the city to rubble and blow everyone else to hell with it. Gamera died?
At least in this, everyone kind of assumes he died after 1999 because he hasn't shown up since.
Ah, okay. That is, unless you are actually Zone Fighter, then you can stop it. Hikaru glanced at the plant, yet as he thought about helping, a sharp pain entered his mind, while thoughts of returning to Cameron flooded it. Every fiber in his being edged him to leave so the crystal would be safe. But the sliver of control Hikaru still possessed resisted with all it could muster. You two, get out of the area as fast as you can, Hikaru ordered, as he gritted his teeth against the mental pain. I will protect the crystal. The alien figure then sprinted to the middle of the street and yelled, Zone, Doru fight. The hero instantly grew to enormous size, revealing to the city the presence of a long-missed champion. With the power to destroy the alien abomination, Zone Fighter focused on the monstrous alien plant, while the intense mental pain continued. Energy coursed down his arms before Zone Fighter discharged a series of red arrow beams at the Legion weapons sliced through the plant's anatomy with ease, causing a sickly liquid to flow from the cut roots. Satisfied the plant was detached from the ground, Zone Fighter dashed toward the flower and began to lift it. At first, Hikaru found the same resistance as the metal door, but as massive amounts of adrenaline flowed into his veins, the flower finally gave way. The remaining roots snapped under the immense strain, while tearing the structure they were attached to apart. The flower of Legion rose off the ground and rested above the Meteor Man's head for everyone in the city to witness. Using the enhanced strength, Zone Fighter tossed the Legion plant high into the air and shouted, Meteor Proton Beam! The alien hero unleashed his strongest weapon on the flower, causing it to explode in a colossal fireball. The fire illuminated the city in a glistening display of destruction. Fiery plant debris rained from the sky after the detonation, ending the Legion's hopes of launching a seed, yet the action infuriated the new colony. Thousands of symbiotic legions crawled out of the ground and flew into the sky, surrounding Zone Fighter in a gigantic cloud of death. The legions of alien insects flew threateningly around the hero until they received the order to attack from their queen. The massive cloud, like a noose around someone's neck, immediately closed in on Zone Fighter. Plasma capsule, shouted the mighty hero as he unleashed energy waves all over his body. Normally able to stun a monstrous enemy, the small insects flew helplessly backward at high speeds, peppering the cityscape with their dead corpses. Is that a move, Plasma Capsule?
I'm not sure if it's actually called the plasma capsule anymore, but at least it is a move that he used where he it's almost like a nuclear pulse where he flung an enemy back.
Let me see.
Yeah, maybe the name got changed or something.
Yeah, the name, because I think that was part of the old TK bio where it was like, you had like the Uzi punches and like I remember a capsule of some kind. I can't fully remember off the top of my head, but I remember something to that effect, like some kind of plasma capsule thing. Which, granted, again, not a real thing, but still.
Yeah, now it's called the Meteor Proton Cut.
Oh,
Here, I posted a GIF of it.
yeah. Okay, so that was called the.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that's bizarre. That's okay.
Yeah, it looks like a nuclear pulse kind of in regards to the execution. I mean, it knocks the enemy away.
Well, yeah,
I
no,
think
but
that thing.
it also
Yeah.
cuts. It also pretty much like negates fourth dimensional stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
stops other dimensional things from happening, I guess.
yeah,
Anyways, I'm gonna pass because I need to go get some water.
yeah, you're good, man. You're good.
Yes, please get water.
All
So
right,
you want me to
you're
go next? Or? Okay. All right. With the swarm gone and the flower destroyed, Meteor Man took a deep breath of relief. The city was safe again. As he regained his composure, the ground violently uplifted beneath him as a long black appendage smacked across his form. The hero rolled across the ground but quickly recovered to witness an entire city block collapse, creating a massive haze. As the dust cleared, the gigantic form of the colony's queen appeared, before Legion screeched to the destroyer of her flower and children. To show true power, the queen's horn charged with sapphire destructive energy. The menacing sight would be a threatening display to any challenger, but to Hikaru it was a welcome sight. The palm in it, or the palm?
pain.
Oh, sorry. The eyes kind of like blended into a. Here, let me zoom in. There we go.
All good.
The pain in his mind faded with the queen's display of power as the crystal was assuredly in danger. He needed to protect the crystal. He needed to kill Legion. Nothing restrained the power within him now. Zone Fighter took a defensive stance before Legion unleashed its charged power. 2 concussion blasts discharged from Legion's horn and impacted the general vicinity of the Meteor Man, turning it into a pyro. The small 5-story structure surrounding the hero vaporized as the force of the blasts tore them to shreds, blanketing the area in a screen of dust. As the fire and smoke diminished from the impact area, Legion discovered Zone Fighter injury-free behind a large rectangular shield. Furious, the Queen unleashed 2 more blasts on the zone barrier, with the 4th finally shattering into sparks. From the cloud of the energy detonation, Zone Fighter charged towards the alien insect and sent a volley of jabs at its massive head, merely for the alien's strong exoskeleton to withstand the mighty barrage intact. Using the confusion to her advantage, Legion swiped Zone Fighter with its horn into an adjacent structure. Lying in the rubble of the structure he fell on, refocused on his foe to discover her horn was open and about to unleash a point-blank concussion ray. Meteor Proton Beam, Zone Fighter shouted as Legion discharged her ray. The 2 energy weapons impacted each other, creating an earth-shattering shockwave. Zone Fighter flew backward across the city from the concussive force until he slammed into the base of a nearby 30-story structure. The alien hero stumbled to his feet and glanced at his light timer, which shinned red. With little time left, the Meteor Man looked back at his foe that now stood in a large roll-free crater. Smoke trailed off the Queen's slightly cracked armor, but Legion screeched at her foe with agitation. She was far from finished with Zone Fighter. Wanting to finish the fight as quickly as possible, Zone Fighter yelled into the air, "Meteor Missile Might." The hero's 2 infamous gauntlets suddenly appeared before the Meteor Man unloaded one of his dual gauntlets on Legion. Quick to react, Legion formed an electromagnetic shield and deflected every missile into the city, setting the surrounding structures ablaze. Zone Fighter, with his attack failing, ended his assault with a few missiles left in his used gauntlet, merely for the Insect Queen to deactivate its shield and screech insultingly at her foe. Needing to get around the shield, Zone Fighter knelt to the ground and began to channel energy throughout his tensing body. His form began to radiate a blue aura while Legion's horn did the same. Finally, blue sparks cascaded across his form and his fists clenched. It was time for Legion to pay. Jet speed, Zone Fighter blitzed forward, sending the structure behind him crashing down from the shockwave while Legion unleashed her own power. The path to Legion immediately sparked into an inferno as a concussive ray ignited a gas line underneath the city. Nothing but ash existed in Legion's gaze, a fact even Zonefire noted as he flew mid-air above Legion, upside down and with both gauntlets aimed at the Queen's backside. Meteor missile might. Legion screeched in agony as its wings burned and exoskeleton cracked from Zonefire's barrage. Oxygen flowed from her exoskeleton's cracks, creating more fuel for the missiles, as Zonefire unleashed everything he had. With both clips emptied, the hero regained his composure and landed a distance away from his opponent. Defying her anguish, Legion turned toward her brood's killer and dashed forward with her horn acting as a spear. As city blocks exploded as her form rapidly moved across the city to impale Zonefighter. Hikaru couldn't believe the speed Legion could move, but still grabbed a hold of the horn as she arrived. The hero skidded across the ground as he tried to stop the alien's movements, but his strength could not halt Legion's rage. The two continued pushing through the city until a nearby skyscraper finally halted the pair. Zonefighter, with slight bits of rubble falling down on him, looked up from his down state to see Legion aiming a point-blank blast of her concussion ray. Too close to fire an energy weapon like he had done earlier, Zonefighter deployed a small hyper barrier as Legion unleashed her concentrated ray. The main force of the blast impacted, reflected, and broke the shield, causing a massive explosion of devastating force. Ripples and fractures cascaded up the skyscraper before it finally collapsed from strain, raining rubble, cement, as well as other debris over the pair. As the shockwave ended its destruction, Zonefighter and Legion found themselves buried under the rubble. A full minute of silence passed by in the decimated landscape that was once Osaka, until a slight tremor turned into a rupture of the destroyed skyscraper. Legion sprung from her hastily built tomb with a grave new wound in her chest that she could not ignore like her other injuries. A large gaping hole now took the place of her egg sac from the redirected concussion ray. With her flower gone, her brood destroyed and severely impaired with all local silicon deposits depleted, Legion turned away from the city with sights on a new nest. The Queen screeched into the air before burrowing under the earth and away from Osaka. As Legion burrowed, a hand burst through the rubble at the other end of the down structure. Gradually, Zonefire lifted himself up and out of the debris with his light buckle, counting down the few precious seconds he had left. He could sense Legion retreating. As much as he wanted to give chase, he could feel the pain in his mind return. The crystal was safe, and he could not fight the two small electronic devices attached to his head any longer. Zonefighter regrettably flew into the sky towards Cameron's remote facility. Wow, now that is impressive, Cameron Winter mumbled as he studied the data from the neural transmitter on Zonefighter. From his main office's desk, he actually manipulated the stimulator's effects on him. His mind is stronger than I thought. As Cameron decided to look over the data, Zonefighter, in his human-powered form, entered into Cameron's room with a crystal in hand. I have what you wanted, Hikaru stated before he tossed the crystal at Cameron. The mogul caught the object with the tip of his fingers before he signaled Hikaru to follow him on his way out the room. I must say, I am impressed with your accomplishment, Cameron commented as he and Hikaru walked down the halls of his personal installation. You grabbed the crystal with no trouble, except for your unlucky run-in with Legion. As the duo walked into an open room, which housed a 20-meter tall and 50-meter wide glass cylinder in the center, Cameron handed the crystal to a few workers as presents. Begin the fusion process immediately. The workers nodded before they disappeared, allowing Cameron to refocus on his pawn. Which brings me to the topic I wish to discuss with you. A smile appeared on Cameron's face before he stealthily activated the stimulators on his minion. Hikaru's mind immediately raged with an intense agony, causing him to fall to his knees. Hikaru tried to think, but the pain was incredibly intense. Stop! Hikaru yelled as he clutched his head. You could have avoided Legion, but you could have just ignored it. But you had to play a hero. Can't have you altering your commands like that, so your free thought will have to go. This may make you weaker, as shown with your strength already, but it should ensure you won't disobey me again. Cameron took his eyes off Hikaru, who struggled on the ground, then turned to face the massive container. You're lucky, in fact. I will show mercy on you today, considering what you helped me accomplish. In that enormous container, Cameron remarked, merely glanced back at Hikaru, who still knelt on the floor in utter pain. The mogul sighed at the sight and grabbed his controller with a few commands. Cameron forced his minion to stand and look at his achievement. Pass.
Okay. As I was saying, in that container was a dormant biospecimen that I abandoned after my failure with the Chameleon project. Its usefulness became clear after I set my plan into action, so I will be fusing it with the crystal's molecular structure. At that moment, the container shined in eerie purple, revealing the skinny creature. The proto-monster gradually began to change as the machine spliced its body with the structure of the crystal. Its claws grew, its tails formed spikes, and its back developed rows of crystal spikes like a porcupine. An arrogant smile formed on Cameron's face. I would like to introduce you to my newest pawn, Crystalac. Sitting at his desk in his main office in the heart of Tokyo, Prime Minister Hayato Igarashi rubbed his temples as he looked over reports from Osaka. The leader of Japan took a keen eye to the estimated damage reports of Osaka that totaled 200 billion yen. Worse than what I would have guessed, but it's better than Sendai, Igarashi noted before he heard a knock on his door. May I come in, General? May I come in? General also asked before Hayato waved him in. The Prime Minister always liked the General. Many thought he and Aso looked alike. Hayato could never see the resemblance, though. Good to see you, Aso, but do you have the reports from me specifically on the facility? The Prime Minister inquired. Seems to be the only one I'm missing. Unfortunately, the officer countered as he handed him the file. Reports from 2 surviving officers indicate Zone Fighter took a small crystal from the facility during the attack. What is its significance? Hayato questioned, only for Aso to reply, it's the only remaining crystal from Space Godzilla attack in 1994. Other fragments were destroyed except that fragment taken. Any indication as to why he stole it? Legion's arrival, perhaps? Negative, and the problem with the theory is the facility was thoroughly shielded. With your approval, I would like to have the JSDF prepare against them both. Here, Colonel Watarase is especially eager to settle a score with Legion. Hayato nodded as he turned to gaze out his office window to gaze upon Tokyo. How close are we to our newest project's completion? We will need it to combat them, and I need something positive for the public to ease tension. After the setback of acquiring our desired programmer and Takumitsu's recent formal resignation, we finally found 2 new candidates to finalize their duties. Hayato returned his attention on the General. Please, go on. The first is Dr. Ifukube. She volunteered for the project in exchange for partial funding of her own side project. She will finalize Takumitsu's work, while the other new member of the project is a Dr. Craven. The Prime Minister's brow immediately rose with curiosity over the second name. A member of Heat? Yes, he was the only other qualified individual we could find. Both started working on their tasks yesterday, so Mechagodzilla should be finished within the week. Igarashi let out a sigh, then glanced back at the file from Osaka. Then let us hope it will be soon enough. Draw. Zone Fighter, Legion.
Alright. So I think like the match itself is ultimately kind of alright. It's more sparse, just kind of gets things kind of moving along. I will say I did enjoy parts of the fight. Sort of like, it's just a simple back and forth for the most part, but I did kind of like the one part that sticks out to me with this one is just the part, very kind of brief as it is the part where like Legion uses Zone Fighter's meteor missile mites and kind of flex with the barrier. That's always good stuff. Gosh darn it, the freaking I know this isn't necessarily your fault. This is just old TK being old TK with the information we had. So,
you mean with all the attack moves and stuff?
Moves and stuff. And it's like, that's not your fault. That's just the information we had available at that time. So it's just like, we didn't know that what the plasma capsule was or its effects. We just had a visual, and that was it. Who knew that the plasma capsule had 4th dimensional properties?
Also, it was a case of like other moves, like the jet speed is the meteor dash. The Uzi punch isn't a thing.
Right. And so on and so on. But it was made at the time it was, so it's like that could be somewhat forgiven. Like that nitpick aside, though, I do kind of enjoy like I said, it is sort of like build, like kind of like going to something. It's a nice little side tangent of Zone Fighter collecting a Space Godzilla crystal for Cameron's new pawn, and then combine that with it was a nice little side tangent to the fight that is like, okay, we're getting more with this Cameron thing going on. It is nice for Zone Fighter to be like, I may be under his influence, but I'm gonna do what I can to protect people. Always shows that like Zone Fighter will always like try to rise above when it can, except for when Cameron just decides to say, "No, you don't have any more free will, you son of a gun." But
and again, it had to come at a cost because like spoilers, but I mean, obviously, like Zone Fighter can match. Like I knew that Zone Fighter could like in his human-sized powered-up form, he could match a monster.
Yeah.
So, like, in 200, when, like, he goes up against Monique and whatnot, like, on the back of the truck, it was like a case of, how can I make this that way it's not like an instant stomp?
Yeah.
And the answer was, just have the neural, have it make him, like, weaker and weaker and weaker. And as he loses his, willpower, it almost, like, siphons his strength as well, which I thought was a good way to, like, balance him.
Oh, right. That's a decent enough compromise, because, his real capabilities are friggin' insane. So it's a good way to keep sort of like the internal logic of the story to weaken him without it just being, he's weak because the original character can lift the leg of an entire monster in his human scaled form, so it's just like, oof.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. A couple fun things. A couple fun things that are slowly kind of pointing to the whole, like what's soon to come with Cameron Winters, like whole shenanigans. So it's like, all right, sweet. The banner. I think the banner's solid. I like kind of the dynamic effect of like Zone Fighter being like thrown through a building. It's sort of like weirdly comedic, but it's like, that's fine. And then you got a couple other things. I was telling this to Ditto earlier. This is literally my first time noticing the Legion flower right there, and I'm like, how did I not see that earlier? It was just there. But only now am I registering, the Legion flower's right there. But it's a decent banner. You could probably clarify this one, Gray Shot, but I believe this banner was supposed to be a little different, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the original banner was supposed to be Cameron Winter and an assistant looking at a screen. There was going to be Crystalak like plans behind him and such. But Anthony was like, no, the monsters need to, like, the actual monsters themselves need to be like front and center on the they get rid of the other stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, totally. So I ended up blowing it up, which is why it doesn't look as good in certain areas, because it was a much smaller image that was blown up. But yeah, but the core of trying to aim for the comedy of Zone Vader to get launched through the building was exactly what I was going for, because it was just Legion just punting him through and having his legs like just sticking out was definitely for a comedic effect.
Yeah.
It would have been something that was done. The banner was going to be something that was done with match. I think it was 225, which was Godzilla Heisei Rodan versus Mothra versus Grand Ghidorah versus Mechagodzilla Heisei.
No, that's 216.
Oh, 216. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. 225 is technically it is kind of a semi-sequel to this, because it takes up all the little like plot threads of this one, which is the Mechagodzilla Heisei, Legion, and Grand King Ghidorah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, no. Yeah, 216. That was the five-way match.
Yeah, but did you have any other thoughts or anything on this match in particular?
Not in particular. I feel like some of the again, Cameron I think is spot on. I think you really kind of nailed like him and his characterization. And I do enjoy like Zone Fighter's story as it's unfolding. I do feel like some of the dialogue early on was a bit on the weaker side though. You go for that witty thing, but it still doesn't quite hit for me. That could just be me though. Wait.
No, I think it does need to be conveyed a little bit better, because it's Kazuya is supposed to be like this young, relatively younger partner that is supposed to be more fast talking, knowledgeable, where Hiroshi is the gruff, older, just does not want any part of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think just punching up the dialogue would help. There's definitely a lot of edits and whatnot that whenever this match is eventually redone, that can be taken care of. But
yes, for sure. Because that was another thing too. That was just like there was a whole lot of there was a lot of like very small things too. Sort of like a lot of like punctuation marks and little grammatical errors here and there that could have very easily could have been like inserted, like a lot more commas, a lot more periods, a lot more question or division of sentences and whatnot. So
I actually just posted the original banner, what the idea would be, and you can kind of see the idea that I was going. And this wasn't finalized or at least I don't think it was when I took this to Anthony for approval. But you can kind of see what it looked like.
Yeah, I kind of see it.
Yeah, hold on a second. Now for the folks at home, you're getting a first-time preview of a really much older banner.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that in regards to preference, I think I do like the newer one, the newer banner. But yeah, no. Otherwise, as for the match itself, I tend to agree. I think this is weaker than the previous one. There's plenty of spelling mistakes. I was like being able to act out the pair. I was able to I could I got what Kazuma and Hiroshi's personality and their like banter back and forth a lot better. But yeah, in the match, if you're just coming at this blind, it's very hard to like kind of get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then yeah, there's plenty of spelling mistakes. Definitely an early match for me. But yeah, this is a case of, if I think this will definitely be a match that kind of comes more alive upon that re-edit. But as of right now, it's just okay. Yeah, it's nothing like I don't like how it kind of switches between all the all different views. I'd probably just focus on Zone Fighter or Hiroshi's perspective, and then just keep it focused to one character through all of this, and then maybe switch it to Hikaru. But for the most part, yeah, it's a bit clunky. I'd say it's just okay. I think the previous match definitely did a better job of kind of with the monster action, the internal dilemma with Zone Fighter and whatnot. Though I do like the ending, and I do like the meteor dash where he like blitzes through the fire, jumps over Legion, and unleashes the mat. Like that.
Yeah.
That is probably my favorite part, at least when it comes to the choreography of this match, and like doing something new with the techniques. Otherwise, yeah, it's just okay. It's not good. At least I don't think, but I think it could be. I think it would be very easily good just with a quick edit with like modern editing skills.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ditto, what were you thinking?
I think the dialogue is pretty like digestible. It's not like bad, but it's not like amazing, I guess. In terms of like Kazuya and Hiroshi, I think their banner is pretty fine. Like it's easy to read through. Then yeah, I think the story itself sets up a pretty interesting kind of cliffhanger with Crystalak, because it's like, oh, okay, that's what this crystal's for. And then it said it was like some kind of specimen or something in there already, like
like an old almost like because the idea was like, okay, I obviously can't create something new, so being
right.
As unspecific as possible. But the idea was like he had some kind of old bio creation, and he infused it with the crystal to like create Crystalak. So while there's not really much inferred to what that was in there, I kind of did so because, again, like having it be like X creature modified, I thought would be like too far in regards to creating Crystalak, but just by saying, oh, it's just like an unused, it's just an unused thing, it would work out well into that way, it'd work out well in regards to creation of Crystalak.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I think it's pretty deep. And then also there's like the cliffhanger or the cliffhanger of like Mechagodzilla. So it does build up stuff, and like you said, it does pay off in a later match. That's pretty neat. I think the fight between Legion and Zone Fighter was pretty enjoyable. Now obviously we know have better names for the techniques that Zone Fighter uses.
Yeah.
Because I guess that knowledge wasn't as accessible, I guess.
No, it wasn't that it was accessible. It was just that it was wrong, because the original was posted by the original was posted by, I believe, Living Corpse. He's how I got all of the information in regards to he was the guy that did all the translations and stuff. So when I originally went through it, and I was like, oh, okay, he's got all the translations, he's got all this stuff. So, and this is and it had like a video showcasing like what everything does.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I used. I'll see if I can find it. Maybe like take a screenshot of it. But yeah, for the most part, it was the best way to. It was the most detailed Zone Fighter stuff, even more so than the site.
Yeah, at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, at the time. But yeah, but even now, like you look at the KWC and you just see like arrow beam. You're like, what does that do? And you just have to go by.
Yeah.
You just have to like either know it or kind of like do intense
Do extra
research.
Or at the
Yeah,
very least, go to the modern TK bio and just parallel it from there. But yeah, no, I get you.
yeah. But for the yeah, it doesn't seem like I can find it, which is a shame. But um, yeah, in regards to like having the old techniques, that's why they're here, and that's why it's also in the other match as well. I think it's going to continue up until probably
I think
200. I think the next one will be 263 is when it'll finally all be corrected, if I'm not mistaken.
so. Yeah, like 263 or somewhere around there is probably the point where where like the correct name started to be used by that point, because it's like, yeah, by then the updated bios have come along or whatnot, so it's like, okay. I know 375 definitely used it because that's me. It's just-
375?
yeah, Zone Fighter versus Colossal Titan.
Oh, the new stuff. I thought you were talking about the old stuff. I'm like, how did the new match get through with like jet speed and
No. I meant like in terms
but I
of,
gotcha.
I meant in terms of like the updated names. So it's like, yeah.
Ah, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Where are Kazuya and Hiroshi from? I feel like they're from like a Mecha Godzilla movie or maybe Gamera.
They're OCs. They're completely made up.
I was about to say,
Yeah, that was my third option.
I just needed two guys that were guards because there is no. If you look at like the, I needed two. I need an old guy and a young guy that would have banter back and forth that were guards, and the guards for basically where Japan keeps all of its like weird, like high tech but high secure stuff. And I'm like, there is nothing in the KWC or nothing in the lexicon that has anything related. So kind of like the priestess for Bagan, because while he's like revered, we didn't have anything. It was kind of like create character names for this, but they're not the focus, they're side.
yeah, which is fine. So
yeah,
exactly. And in regards to like, they actually were going to appear again. They actually were going to appear in the previous match that was just posted on the site, which was the Gabara versus Gamora versus Gauss. They were originally, it was going to be them on, like, they had been demoted and been like thrown into like a recon detachment, so the two of them were just like doing reconnaissance on the hill when if I recall correctly, they stumble upon Ozaki. Yeah, they stumble upon Ozaki, and it's basically a case of them like trying to survive. And then at the very end, they get thrown under the bus for everything that goes wrong again, which I felt was pretty fitting for.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the original draft before I was like, okay, they're kind of not needed. They're really not needed. And they were thrown. That was streamlined out. Colonel Watarase was in there, streamlined that out, just made it focus on Ozaki, Gamora, and
Gabara.
and Goro Miki.
Oh yeah.
Or not Goro. What's the kid's name?
Ichiro.
Ichiro. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy read to get through. Obviously, you might be a little lost if you don't know, if you haven't read the previous ones, but I think the story still like holds up well on its own. It's like, yeah, it tells you that there's something wrong with Zone Fighter like at the beginning, and then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, he has the mind control device or whatever. But yeah, I think overall it's a pretty fine match. The banner, I think it's neat that Zone Fighter is like getting thrown into a building, and you have like Legion kind of charging, as well as like the Legion flower on the other side, and some of Zone Fighter's like stray energy shots I think really the only, I guess, critique about it is that maybe the monsters or like the whole image itself could just be lower. So that way, because they're like kind of high up, if that makes sense. Like on the upper half of the image, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Either that.
Oh yeah, they're definitely wedged in the corner.
Right. Either that or
Yes.
put the title on the bottom, so that way it gives something to put on the bottom.
That would have helped too. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think the banner's like it's a pretty neat idea. It's just to have like Zone Fighter interacting with the environment, as opposed to just maybe just having him like standing there. I think the proto banner is pretty interesting to look at because I was actually going to ask if you had it, so it's good that you posted it. But yeah, I can definitely see how it's kind of just like not up to standard, I guess, because I can barely see Zone Fighter in the image.
Yeah, you really just see his feet and his eye in like the literalist of corner.
Right, like
Yeah.
barely hitting. He's already kind of like mostly barely in the main image already, so it's like he has head and feet in the current one, but then the old one's just like you get a quarter of his head and his feet, and it's like,
it's kind of hard to see like the crystalline stuff in the back because I think I can see like
I can see parts of the Crystalak stuff.
It's like the turnaround image from Godzilla Unleashed, I think.
Yeah.
But I think this idea could have worked. Like maybe make like a big kind of like flat screen kind of thing where you have the banner, the Zone 5 versus Legion, but that's like bigger. But it's like on a TV or like a monitor or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you could have had like Cameron and this other scientist, but like
foreground stuff.
Yeah, and then like smaller. And then maybe on like the right hand or left hand sides of like the monitor, you could have like concept art of Crystalac from like the Godzilla Unleashed games, maybe with like arrows pointing at it or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think the idea could have worked.
Yeah, there are definitely like workarounds for it, but I think Gray Shot specific. I could understand why Anthony inquired the changes that he did, but there are definitely ways to do like this kind of formatting material. Like there is a way to do this kind of thing. It would just have to be done differently.
Overall, I think it's a fine match. And I'd say that's pretty much about it. I guess did you have any like ideas for this match, Grayshaw, that you wanted to do, but had to like streamline that out or whatever?
I think the big thing for this one was just keeping. I had to add in a whole bunch of stuff for like I had to make I knew I wanted Zone Fighter to fight Legion because I'm like, okay, because again each match needs to continue the story, but I needed like a monster that would like be attracted or kind of like cause chaos underground, but then Zone Fighter could fight on a large scale. So Legion was kind of a sweet fit. I'm glad I gave her. I think she has a much better match in 225. Otherwise, for the other things, it's really just a kind of getting all the balls. Like again, I think that's why I don't like this one as much, is because there's not much for it to stand on, minus like the interaction with Cameron and Hikaru. I really don't like the last bit because I'll be honest, I kind of stopped using like speaking with Prime Minister Igarashi and stuff and just focused on like individual characters instead, just continuously bringing in new characters for like references and stuff.
Yeah.
Unless it's needed for the part, I kind of like my thought process is kind of like you don't need it, and here is very much throwing everything at the wall. I did like I probably would have thrown more weird stuff into the bunker, like more weird like weapons and stuff. Ozaki, not Ozuka. Thank you, Nagoda. I don't know why I keep saying that name. But yeah, otherwise it was I think I'm excited for when this gets a facelift, and I'm also excited for the matches that follow, because I think chapters 9 and 10 are going to be far better than this one.
Okay, cool.
Nagoda, what did you think of it?
We probably should have asked him like a long time ago to start typing his stuff.
Oh gosh, right. I didn't realize he was muted.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess to give him a sec. The only other thing, is there anything other like tidbits or anything about this match that
Um,
I can't think of anything. Like, there's nothing more that kind of hints at other than like, again, this is really much the. I kind of like setting a little like doing like taking one match to kind of focus on like a storyline. This one very much does set up like everything for 225 with the players, except for like the third big one, which is Grand King Ghidorah. The next match, I think, does a way better job of having a nice story, introducing having characters that fit, making references and whatnot. Yeah, I'm gonna keep. I guess I'm just repeating myself, but yeah,
Okay.
I think this is. Yeah. Oh, I guess for the banner, I get you mentioned. Yeah, so in the back of the previous one, yeah, there's the Godzilla Unleashed Crystalak. That is from the game. It's just all like texturized to make it look like a painting or something, like or like to make it look like I don't know something like to make it look like it was like a biopsy or schematics or something for like
yeah. Okay, I see. I see like the folder has like Zone Fight or something on it.
yeah for his bio because like how did he know about like all basically everything and it's a case of well if you come to think about it from the show Zone Fight like the fact I think most people that were in that town probably knew like there's so many things that happen and with this one family it's kind of like this he's not Bruce Wayne like I'm sure people know but they kind of kept it hush hush because like he was doing so much good
Mhm.
it's a case of well we kind of can put the dots together but let's not go after this family because they're actually like helping out they're stopping the monsters and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I guess for Gamera. So yeah, I get the main note in regards to like this whole match is everything takes place in the like all the every movie has happened in sequential order from when they like happened. So it's a case of well, like why didn't Gamera show up in Godzilla Final Wars or Godzilla against Mechagodzilla or stuff like that? And the answer is just oh, he didn't. So everyone thinks he's dead.
Okay.
It's just kind of putting the logic of, oh, why didn't like X Monster show up? It's just because like, oh yeah, they think, well, they didn't. So everyone is like, oh, then they have to be dead because then they would have showed up or something, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. I guess the only other thing is like, I mean, as cool as this to see Crystalak, it is kind of like weird that I don't know, because would it really like fly now if we had like Cameron make like a base model lizard thing and then like he put the crystal in it, you know what I mean? Because I know Crystalak's origin is kind of vague.
Right.
I think the most we get is that a crystal hit Earth and then it grew into Crystalak.
There is actually a specific origin for Crystalak where he was just a monster that came riding in from a meteor and then just crashed in New York.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like he does have a specific origin, but generally speaking, it is sort of that thing where it's like kind of vague and open-ended. It's not like, yeah, even like the idea that like, oh, Space Godzilla created Crystalak is sort of a fanon thing compared to like what his official origin is.
Yeah, I think the Obsidious fits more so with yours because I think if I'm not mistaken, it's just like either like a meteor impact or crystal just growth just gets so deep that it has like a reaction like deep underground and creates Obsidious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably could have gotten away if you just like put crystal in a chamber and it just like started to grow into Crystalak, or like whatever creature was like attached to the crystal, maybe it was like inside like an egg, you know?
Make it pull up a Rugon where it just like put it under some light and the crystal just a beam comes out of the crystal.
Yeah, I mean I can totally buy Cameron Winter having like a base creature kind of like ready to go since he made like the chameleon and a bunch of other things.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's like, yeah, it doesn't really reflect like what Crystalak is, I guess, like his origin. But other than that, like, yeah, I still think it's like a neat kind of thing.
Oh wait, Pagoda, what are your thoughts? We were waiting for you to respond, and all that you told us is that he reveals himself. Apparently, Hikaru reveals themselves to just about any scientist or girl they like, and don't tell their best friend they are aliens for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, when you want to get the date, you got to tell her, you got to tell the girl that you're a superhero, right? It's just how it goes.
Clearly, it's so weird. It's just like, oh yeah, the girl, they get to know. The scientists, they get to know. They're not going to tell anyone, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, they'll keep their mouth shut. That's why Superman on his dating profile lists himself as Clark Kent. You know, because everyone that looks at that will be like, "Oh yes, clearly I will not tell anyone." But thank you for letting me know this information.
Yeah.
A fun match with a trying to do the right thing and fighting off control hero cliche.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summation. Oh, okay. He's cooking meth now, so I guess we'll have to call it there.
Yeah.
Let him cook.
Yeah.
Yes.
The boys got to cook. In the meantime, this has been match 184, and we'll see you guys next time for the season finale with match 185. Till then, folks.